Fairfield Christian Church welcomes Paul Wilbur in concert.
Worthy is the Lamb that was slain for us, Son of God.
Paul Wilbur and Band in concert, Saturday evening, May 4th at 7 at the Fairfield Christian Church in Lancaster. Don't miss this exciting night of worship with Paul Wilbur and the Messiah Company dancers. This is a love offering event. Doors open at 6:30. More details at 740-654-0099 or fairfieldchristian.org.
Welcome to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. My special guest today, Bruce McAtee. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing well. Bruce was the Y director for how many years?
My total career was 33 years, and half of that was spent in Lancaster.
And before that, where was it?
I was in Lake County, Ohio, which was
That's right.
east of Cleveland, and I was in Dayton, Ohio.
That's right. I think I was on the board when you came in. If I remember right. It
No,
was close.
you were playing racquetball with Hugh Lucas. You may have been courting people, but you weren't. You weren't on the board.
I appreciate you being here. We're going to talk about
appreciate-
issue one, which is the street repair levy.
Yeah.
I know that we talk about your committee and your crew, and but let's talk. What drew you to this assignment to be involved with this committee?
Well, I've been involved in the community for 18 plus years. I retired in 2005, and one of the things I like about Lancaster is that we've had a history of being very conservative, but when the facts are presented, people seek solutions, and that's been shown by the historical parks that got passed and the park levy that's continued to get renewed. When I campaigned as a city council person, there was a lot of anger about why my streets weren't being fixed. And we saw the deterioration in the secondary roads that really basically were roads that, quite honestly, didn't get a lot of traffic, and they were residential. And I noticed then, as soon as I got on city council, that there was definitely a lack of funding to take care of the streets. And so Ken Culver commissioned a citizens advisory group to take a look at how the city was spending its money, and if we could reduce expenditures other places, we could divert that money to the streets. That's what we should do. And so Dick Skemmelhorn, I believe, was the chair of that, and it was a group of about 7 or 8 citizens. They came back with a report and said there's no way we can cut our way to be able to divert that money to streets. We just don't have the money to do it. At the same time that was going on, the state of Ohio, which was carrying a potential large deficit, went back and started to eliminate revenue streams that the city had always relied on. At one time, we got state tax, and I'm not opposed to the fact that they eliminated that, but by eliminating that, that suddenly was $500,000 that came out of our revenue budget stream. The city of Lancaster and all municipalities cannot do a sales tax because we agreed with the state of Ohio that if they would distribute those state sales tax to the municipalities as local government funds, we would never do a sales tax for the city. So we don't even have that option, and as a result of that, with the hardships that the state of Ohio was having, we also got a reduction in our local government funds. So at the same time that we recognized from the Citizens Advisory Committee we did not have the funding to do the streets, we also found that we have $1.5 million less money going into the general fund starting this year. So the only way that we could do something was to put a levy over 10 years to spread that payment out, because we're looking at a liability to fix these streets to get them up to par at $15.5 million. That for under $100 for a property valued at $100,000, we can take care of this. And we can go from having a liability of streets costing us $59 to $100 per square yard of asphalt to maintaining them at 29 cents per square yard of asphalt. It's a great business model.
Now, there's a brochure made up.
There is.
How do people get a hold of one of these? What's the easiest way? Or?
Call us, You can call me at home, 654-2909, and also they can send them to my email site, which is McAtee.ward, W-A-R-D, the number 3 at gmail.com.
And this is coming up May 7th.
May 7th. It's been very compressed.
Which is just around the corner. And I know it's a 3 mil levy that's going to cost $92 for every 100,000 of appraised value.
Right.
And there's always arguments about that, how much my home is worth and those type things. But people always talk about how is this going to benefit me? How is this going to benefit Lancaster? And you've talked a little bit about the streets, but property values.
Well, David Uhl did some research, and a town in Springfield, Oregon commissioned a study on this because they were going to try to improve their streets, and they realized that once their streets were improved, they did a similar kind of funding stream strictly for their streets, that the values of the properties went up. It also improved the businesses more interested in going in and looking at the towns that they wanted to move in. Mike Pettit right now, who's our economic development contact for the city, he has to be very careful what roads he chooses when he takes people around to show them the industrial parks. You can't keep the roads a secret, but you try to make a first good impression.
Right.
The World Bank has always said that the economic development of any country or any local geographic territory is your streets. Good streets lead to many good things. We have, right now, our primary streets are pretty good. They're fair to satisfactory they're fairly good. We've had, historically, we've had third-party money to do that. That money's going away. Our secondary streets have been neglected because those are the neighborhoods that connect those primary streets, and as they get worse, those are going to affect negatively the property values of a home that people are keeping up. But people don't want to drive up to their driveway if they've got to dodge 4 or 5 potholes to get there.
And one of the losses you were talking about was the inheritance tax.
Yes.
Which is going to lose, well, the city's going to lose about $750,000.
Well, it varies from year to year. It depends on who dies.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people thought that was an unfair tax, but we became reliant upon that money. And so the minimum was about $500,000. In some years, it could be $750,000. In fact, how the streets all got repaired one time way back was when I.J. Collins died. He didn't have a will. The city got this boatload of money. And so they did something with infrastructure, but it's just like anything else. If I give you one fish, you're not hungry that day. If I give you a fishing net, you can feed yourself continually. That's what this is going to do. This is going to provide us that net to be able to not have to rely on a windfall of money and to take care of this over 10 years. And by the end of the 10 years, if we renew it, we can go with less millage. It'll cost less.
And the brochure, which is very well done, that has all the information in it about the road conditions and the 10-year total cost and the streets. This is for 10 years, and it's going to generate about $2.1 million annually.
Yes, and we figured in inflation, and then we're going to bring in terms of personnel, 1.5 persons to do this, and it'll be through the engineering department.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that one.
Yep. And as a result of having that person, they're also going to be seeking grants because we can leverage grants. If the grantee sees that we have money streams to do this, then they want to partner with us. So we think we can bring in another $500,000 a year as a result of having this stream of money coming in each year.
One of the questions people always ask is why a property tax chosen instead of an income tax, and Lancaster property taxes are at the low end of the taxing spectrum.
Yes.
And our income rate is already higher than most. Is that?
Well, there's no perfect tax. We only had 2 options, income tax or property tax. The road warriors, Bob Lavelle, who's a chair, Rosemary Hay Joseph, and myself, we decided we will work with whatever tool they give us. The property tax makes sense to me because everybody pays that lives in Lancaster. People that work here and have an income tax, certainly it could generate money, but income comes up and down. The millage is going to be locked in. That won't be a variant rate where we have bigger amounts some years and collect less other years. And from 2007 till recently, our income tax collections were going down. So if you look at this is a more stabilized thing. Now, if the economy improves, then the income tax might become more robust again. But It wasn't a decision we made. This was something the city council voted on.
When you've been out doing this, because we talked some weeks ago.
Sure.
And you've been out doing this, what kind of response are you getting from people? Are you getting,
Well,
this is a great idea, or no, we're taxing death?
I think you get two responses. One is, one of your cameramen said, boy, I hope you fix this because the streets around my house are terrible, to the person who says I can't afford it.
Right.
And I certainly have empathy on that, and we know that the silent opposition is the people who says, look, we just got hit with the school bond levy. When's this ever going to end? The problem is that we can't afford to do it now. When can we afford to do it? Because we can't rely on Big Brother, the federal government of the state, to keep coming in with these grants of money. Obviously, we're in an economic, fiscal, unknown land. But the ideal and the strength of this city is that we take care of our own. And for a little bit of money, and even though it may seem like a lot, if you really distribute that money over the course of 12 months, you're looking at paying like less than $10 a month. I think it's around $7, maybe rounded up to $7.80 a month for a $100,000 property.
Is there anybody that's really come out and said, we're just not, we don't want this?
Interestingly, some of the people who really objected the fact that we were doing a property tax and an income tax have asked for street signs because they realize the wisdom of having this done. And I think if you look on the brochure, this has been endorsed by 3 groups now. The fire union, because of the rapid response vehicles, that we got $500,000 and $750,000 vehicles that can break an axle. They've had to upgrade their springs to military grade because of the roads. They can't choose what roads they go on. So they see the wisdom of this. You got the Chamber of Commerce that's endorsed it because they realize that good business comes into town when there's good roads where people don't have to avoid certain streets to get to their business, to get their product.
And I know we've got some shots of street. I don't know if you guys can get a shot
Yeah,
of
and
that.
this is citywide. We got bad streets in every section of the town, west side, east side, north side, and south side.
And there's,
That street is, I think, is North Pershing.
right.
It's on the bottom there, if you want.
Another one. Here's, we have one from West Mulberry Street.
That's West Mulberry, where right now you can grow a garden right in that particular section of street.
And there's the other side of West Mulberry.
That's actually Union Street
Oh,
there.
sorry.
Yeah, and the camera doesn't do as much as if you
Here's
go out there and
one
actually see it.
from Wheeling Road. I don't know if
Wheeling Road, that was a wintry day. Now, Toby Shamblin took these pictures. There are actually roads that are worse than these, but these are the ones that Toby had taken and that we've used. Baldwin, you see here, it's at the point of starting to deteriorate. This street probably to maintain it right now would be in the, I would say, poor category, so it's costing about $6.63 if we had the money to maintain it. But that's gonna slide to $32.88 if it goes from poor to very poor.
What questions, I know that you go out about, you've had groups, you've done all that thing. What kind of feedback are you getting? Do some people just say, I don't care, it doesn't make any difference to me, do it? Or are people really interested in what's happening?
Well, I think there may be a lot of people that silently are trying to look at counting their pennies and seeing if they can afford to pay it. I think as soon as they get the facts and understand that the cost is going to be so prohibitive in the future if we don't do something, that they see factually, yes, their feelings are overcome by the fact that they need to do it.
And the state of Ohio contributes a portion of the property taxes to those taxpayers that are 65 and older.
Yeah, if you
who
apply,
pertain to homestead
if you apply to a homestead status, the state will pick in a portion of that millage and pay for it rather than the senior citizen having to do that. And that varies. There's a big formula. We had an actually fixed amount in there, a percentage, but that varies, so we took that out.
Did you talk to other cities that have gone through this before?
Oh, yeah. Piqua, Ohio is an example of one that had best practices is having a dedicated stream of money to do streets, so you don't have to politic with it. You don't have to. People don't have to worry about that they're paying for taxes, and by seeing their streets being taken care of, they see a value in that. Piqua has successfully done this for 10 years and has been renewed. And one of the things is, and Rosemary's always looking for she's a rebel with a cause. She's looking at that we make sure that once this thing is passed, that there is transparency in how that money's spent. We do have a street inventory. And there is also a list that the Lancaster Department of Transportation can give out of the streets that they're planning to do. And like Dave Smith said at one of our public presentations,
Which you had two, right?
we had two.
Two. You gonna have any more? Have you got any more planned?
Well, the third one was we presented at the City Council
Okay.
PowerPoint presentation.
Which is,
That was done last Monday.
Okay.
Yeah. And they can go on cable and they can watch the PowerPoint, and they can hear the voices of Bob and I, and there's PowerPoint which shows the pictures and goes through this thing in about, I think, about 20 minutes. And like, so we have the information, but a lot of work has been done to get ready for this because of the Citizens Advisory Committee coming back and saying, hey, there's no place to cut.
right.
And us doing a street inventory and determining the number of streets. Right now, we're still okay in that we've got approximately 515 streets. There's 2 streets that are brick, so they don't really apply. There's 2 streets like that. Right now, we have 6 street sections that are serious condition, and the cost for them alone would take about 20% of the total money.
20%.
Yeah. And then we've got, in terms of good streets, and since Columbus is now, we took about 100,000 square yards of asphalt off the serious, they were in serious condition. If you guys were driving Columbus Avenue, it was like,
Which is right out here. I don't know.
yeah, it's now smooth as glass. You're looking at that cost went from a cost of well over $60 per square yard to now, to maintain that, is just basically keeping it sealed so water doesn't get in there and dig out the potholes. We've got a lot of roads now, Mike, where the potholes, all the city has, and this is again something that happened many years ago where the state said we want to have private contractors be able to bid on this. There was no incentive to rebuy very expensive asphalt equipment
Right.
when you were encumbered to have the best and lowest bid, and these guys wanted the business. So you suddenly got only cold patch to use, which is very expensive, and when you go in and you fill that with cold patch, that will eventually pop out because water can get in there,
Right.
and the pothole gets bigger. So you're spending, and we've cut our staff in the city by 20%, so you've got less people on the street to do that, and so you're spending an awful lot of time inefficiently using these people just to try to continue to play. What is that game where you hit the holes, the head pops up and you kind of keep hitting it?
I'm not sure.
Anybody knows what that is?
That's the crew.
Whack-a-mole.
Yeah,
Whack-a-mole.
whack-a-mole. That's what the city's doing. They're playing whack-a-mole. Every day they're going out and filling in a pothole, and the next day, maybe a week later, they're going back and filling the same hole in. And while they're trying to keep it with that hole, they got other holes that are created. So you got. I'm a very pragmatic person. I don't want to spend money foolishly.
Right.
This is money that you're spending wisely and that you can see being spent. And it's not like it's something transparent. You're going to see it. You're going to actually, in 10 years, you're going to see your streets better. And because of that, you're going to have people that want to live here.
Yeah, you don't have a website set up? I mean, people
No,
just
we're
call
pretty
you
unsophisticated because we only got this thing organized right
Right.
after the city council approved to put it on the levy.
Right.
And Ken Culver, I give him all the creds because as president, he's the one that got the Citizen Advisory Committee together. He's the one that did the research to see how other cities that have done well by doing this. And so we're using best practices.
We talk about demographics. Males,
sure.
females, young kids.
Sure.
What kind of feedback are you getting from different various groups? I mean, have you got older people saying, I can't afford it, younger people saying, oh, we need it, or what kind of...
Well, it's kind of a silent campaign because we really have had not a whole lot of time. Like I'm going to the streets and putting brochures into the most likely voters. We're basically going to a targeted group of people that tend to vote in May primaries every time.
Right.
So we have not elicited a lot of comments from people, but the ones that we've talked to, they ask the questions, why are you doing this? And once we seem to be able to give them the facts, they seem to be satisfied. Now, there's one guy I ran into who, he kept throwing softballs at me. He said, the city's done this, the city's done that, and he's very unhappy, and he wasn't interested in listening to facts. So you're going to have that element out there that's going to vote for this no because they're going to believe in their opinions are more valuable than
Right.
the facts.
One thing that we have not covered is that this also covers bridge maintenance.
It covers it covers the paving of the bridges.
Okay.
It doesn't do the infrastructure, but again, it ties in with the engineering department. The other thing that this thing doesn't mention, it's not in the legislation, but it is in the budget of this $21.5 million that we're gonna raise, is we're gonna tar and chip the alleys. If some alleys are okay, been maintained, but others, my gosh, they're horrendous. I almost broke an axle in one of them between Standing Stone and, I mean, there's been nothing done. They're just deep.
But you were speeding, but we know that.
Wasn't speeding. It was snow, and he didn't know it was a pothole.
It's interesting because spending a little time on city council for some years. How do people? Well, when will my street get done? Is there a schedule of
Yes.
who will get done first?
Yes, and of course, it's like anything else. It's situational. We're going to go after the most serious streets first. And someone says, why is it 10 years? Why couldn't it be 5 years? Well, we're trying to make it affordable. You know, it's like buying a house. It's a lot more affordable to buy a house over 30 years than it is trying to buy it in 15 years or 10 years. So that's basically what we've done, is stretched it out. So we're going to get the most serious first, because once we get those up and running, the cost to maintain those things are going to be pennies. And then you move on to your very poor and you're poor. At the same time, you're going to try to maintain the streets that are good. And as like Dave Smith said, water is your enemy. So you see these little alligator things that they've got tar on them? That's basically to keep those streets sealed, and you don't see potholes on those roads.
Worst case scenario, doesn't pass. What happens?
Property values will continue to decline. People will start to find reasons to move out of Lancaster, in my opinion. Because and I think crime, if you talk to Dave Bailey, Dave's going to, the chief of police of Lancaster is going to probably put an article or a editorial letter in that as an area gets more blighted, crime tends to grow there because they figure that no one cares and there's less vigilance. It's sort of the same theory in slums and cities. When people planted flowers and gardens, the neighborhood became safer. And another thing is, without doing anything, you're going to have more chance for accidents and injuries.
Right.
As potholes grow, people start to swerve from the right-hand side of the road to the left side. And we've already seen that this has happened in other places in the state where there's been huge liability settlements because of some death as a result of.
Have you ever gone into a restaurant or someplace and sat down and not knowing who you are, somebody say, boy, what are we going to do about the streets in the community? Have you ever just listened to some conversations about it?
No, unlike you, I don't have the money to go into. I'm saving all my money for the street level. But my two compatriots have done that. Rosemary has certainly got a lot of feedback from people, as well as Bob Lavelle. So yeah, if they were here, they could maybe give you some anecdotes on what they've heard and listened to. And again, it's like anything else. Opinion wins over facts until they actually can get in there and give them the facts. And credibility is the big thing here.
When you were first approached about being on this ad hoc committee, what did you think? I mean,
When I told Ken Culver I thought it was important, and when I campaigned for re-election, I actually had it in my flyer. And people are not popular when they think you got your hand in their pocket. You know, people. I mean, I understand it. I want to know what I'm spending my money for, and I felt that this is something that you can show. People can see it. If you want to taste it, you can taste the asphalt. You can see it's happening. It's not some transparent, elusive thing where you're paying taxes so that the city government can have computers in their offices and boilers replaced. They don't see that. But this is something they see. And I actually made a conscious effort to say, I will campaign for this. And for whatever reasons, there's a lot of reasons why I chose not to run again. I wanted to devote my time on this.
do you know how many miles of street we have in the?
I do. As a matter of fact,
That was
I have
a
to
question
look.
that,
I have to look it up.
I said I would ask that people knew I was coming on. You were coming on the show again. We're talking with Bruce McAtee. Talking about issue 1, the
If you told me before we got on the show, I would have the information in front of me.
Well, you have your, what did you call this? Your pothole Bible? What did you call
This
it?
is called my Holy Bible.
Your Holy Bible.
Which is Potholy Bible.
And it's issue 1 is coming out May 7th, and it has been endorsed by
Yes.
the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
And also
By the Eagle Gazette and by the Fire Union. Hold on a minute.
That's okay. We can get to it. I know.
Well, while you're talking, I'm going to leaf through and see if I can find my flyer that has this on here.
The when
Okay.
when you're not doing this, what's Bruce McAtee doing in his spare time when he's not involved in the YMCA?
I'm involved on a mission committee of my church. I'm a president of the regional YMCA retirees for 2 years. I'm serving on the board of directors of United Way for 3 more years. And there's something else I'm doing too, but I can't think.
Whatever your wife tells you to, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, I'll tell you, Bruce, time has flown by. We have about 5 minutes left in our segment, and I know you don't have to look it up. That's okay. We'll find it. If anybody wanted information, should they call you? Is that the easiest thing to do, or should they split it up and call other members of the committee, or what would you like to have them do?
Call us. I mean, our phone number. I'm sending an editorial letter into the Eagle Gazette, and my phone number is 654-2909. They can call me there. If they know Rosemary Hajos personally, or if they know Bob Lovell. Bob was president of Chamber of Commerce many years ago. He won the Small Business Award. He's a very credible guy. And we all have different skill sets that went into this thing. I'm a doodler. The bear is my contribution.
It's good. I mean, it looks
Only
good.
you can prevent unsafe streets, okay?
Looks good.
So we've been a great group. In fact, Rosemary likes our chemistry so well, she'd like to see us find another cause to go after. I think I want to take a vacation of.
Well, Bruce, we appreciate you coming on and giving us an update on issue 1. The street limit, again, this is coming up May 7th, just about 2 weeks away.
2 weeks.
2 weeks away.
Yeah.
And again, no more presentations. So if
No more public presentations other than the opportunities that, like, you've given us to talk. I mean, we're on another show. I think Ken and Bob have been on one radio program, and Rosemary and I were on a radio program with Ken, 90.9. So we've hit the local channels. We're going to do some drop ads in the newspaper and that kind of stuff, and encourage people to write letters to the editor. Those people who are concerned about how the money's going to be spent, each of us have committed time that we will go and personally talk to them. We will give them every question, consideration, and answer. And I mean, I can be wonky. I can get into how the money's going to be spent and distributed, and by law, this money can only be spent for streets.
And we're talking about 10 years, generate $2.1 million annually. It's a 3 mil levy, cost $92 for every $100,000 of appraised value for your home. Bruce, we appreciate you coming in.
Okay,
Good luck with levy.
and before I started this campaign, I looked many years younger than I do now.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller, and remember, until we meet again, let's make a difference.
I can't say enough of how this center influenced me and the benefits that my wife got from it. I thought nobody can take care of her like me, and I knew I had to do something for my family. It's in their hearts that they want to provide the care for the people that deserve it here.